My name is Ramonita Rodriguez-Johnson, and I am the director of the Hispanic Senior Center for Catholic Charities. So we have a senior that comes to our senior center. His name is Don Ramon. He's 77 years old, and he was part of the Mariel boat lift when Castro ended up sending a lot of Cubans over and to Florida. He was part of there, and then he ended up eventually coming to Cleveland. So he was coming to the senior center every single day, and he lived on 197th in Euclid. So he would take buses just to come to the senior center. That's how much he loved it here and loved being around other Latinos and Hispanics and partaking in the activities that we do at the senior center. One day in March, he walked from here to West 25th to catch the bus, and as him and another senior were crossing the street, a young man made a fast left turn and ended up striking him. The other senior was there with them and knew that it was not good and was holding his hand. So when the ambulance took him, the other senior came back here to the senior center to let us know that he had gotten in this accident. One of my workers went to the hospital to see about him. He was in emergency and they took him up immediately to ICU. We didn't hear anything more about it till the next day when we found out that he had passed away that same night. He had no family. His friends were the people here at the senior center. And so I contacted the coroner's office to see what was going to happen with him, because I knew because he had nobody that they were probably going to bury him in Pottersfield. I believed he deserved more than that and deserved a burial with dignity on consecrated ground. I contacted Jimmy from Craciun's funeral home, and Jimmy said, Ramonita, Catholic cemetery, if he's Catholic, can also bury him for free if he's indigent. I have somebody at Calvary that I can contact, and we can see if we can have him buried at Calvary on consecrated ground. We can give him a proper burial. So that's what we did. I coordinated with the funeral home in Euclid, Ohio, to have his ashes delivered to Craciun's, and then Jimmy made the arrangements to have him buried at Calvary Cemetery. We reached out to Father Mark across the street at St. Michael's. We are at St. Michael's Hall, St. Michael's of Archangel. He agreed to be the priest to be able to do the service. We picked the date and we took all our seniors to the east side and we had him buried on consecrated ground. Father Mark knew of him and has spoken to us about who he was and what he meant to the senior center. So he learned this very famous Cuban song on his guitar, and he played many songs at the cemetery, including the Guantanamera, which for Cubans is the national song. And all our seniors were there, and it was a wonderful service and wonderful way to honor someone who had been a part of us and had nobody, and we made sure he was buried properly. He was part of our family here. For me, it was like he had survived Castro. He had survived coming over on the Mariel boats. He had survived living in Florida for however long and had gotten to Cleveland and so on. He was a gentle man, a very caring man. And I just felt like people were by themselves, and yet at the same time, they don't need to be buried in Pottersfield with no gravestone, with nothing. And so I just thought it was the right thing to do, the compassionate thing to do, the Catholic thing to do. And for sure, as Catholic Charities, I think that's part of our mission, is to care for people who may not have anybody to care for them. He's up on a hill, so he's like looking down at Calgary, and it's a beautiful, perfect spot for him. It was very sweet, very emotional, and very just community. People are at different stages of their life, and yet for me, that's what we're about. That's what everybody should be about, is uplifting someone else or being there for someone else. To our seniors that were here, it put closure to losing one of their own, and for me, it represents who we are as Catholic Charities. I was blessed to be able to do that, to be honest, to work for an organization that I could do that. And it was valued, that it was not only something that we valued as workers and as a center, but that I know Catholic Charities valued what we did. And for sure, no Ramon did.